Cards. I am Mike Cooper. Glad to be here with you. It is Thursday, the 15th already, 15th of September. Where has the month gone? And man, we got a great show for you tonight. I'd like to welcome everybody here. We have changed some of the format. We are no longer on Twitch. That just wasn't doing it. So we have added Twitter. You can see these now live on Twitter. Um, Rumble will be happening when we launch the radio station, Big Patriot Radio. Anyway, thanks for being here. We're glad you're here. Whatever your platform you're on, always go like it, click subscribe, ring the bell, do all that good stuff. Um, be a part of the show week in and week out, every single week here at 7 o'clock on Thursdays. These are always available to be replayed back in the library. You can go to um, YouTube. It's a good place to go. Go to the YouTube channel of Beaufort County's House of Cards, and you can see all of the shows, those that are taped, those that are done live. They're all stored there, and check them out. Of course, if you go through pages and pages of Facebook, I'm sure you can find it as well. They're stored there, and check it out. Be sure to check us out on Patreon.com. That's Patreon.com. Become a member of the show either as a membership level or just a simple, ordinary, which we love, our $10 a month patrons. We really appreciate that. And you get a lot of free stuff like this going along with that. And you get early advance notice of what's going on in your area. And a lot more is going to be going on in your area as we grow, as the podcast grows, and as the radio station grows. Something that we worked on just today. I happened to see it, and I got a hold of these folks and told them I would be mentioning it tonight. Um, if you're around on October 8th, come out October 8th, that's Saturday. Um, the Operation Patriots Forward Operation Base, that's Operation Patriots, FOB, Forward Operating Base, is going to be putting on a big deal, big concert um, for wounded veterans, our heroes, wounded first responders. Justin Moore is going to be playing out there. Travis Denning, and Justin Moore, matter of fact, I think he's got like a number one hit right now in country music. Travis Denning is going to be there. Lucas Todd, Jairus Ashley, WWE or WCW wrestler Ted DiBiase Jr. is going to be there, and Thad Moffat. Thad Moffat, driver in the Craftsman Truck Series, I believe it is. I want to say for Richard Petty. Maybe that's wrong, but anyway, Thad Moffat's going to be there. Go to their Facebook page. That's OPFOB, OPFOB. Check that out, and if you can, join them. And that's the kind of stuff we're going to do here at House of Cards, as well as with Big Patriot Radio. I told those folks, look, I will advertise this event, no charge. I will put this event in your group on the radio, no charge. Those kind of things giving back to the community, especially those wounded warriors. That's big time. That's big time. And we can't do that enough. So that's good stuff. October 8th, OPFOB. Check them out on Facebook and let them know you heard about them here on Beaufort County's House of Cards. All right. So like I said, a lot of good stuff going on. Busy week. Started off a little timid, a little slow, but it quickly picked up. Wanted to go over a few things, but first, we have a whistleblower coming on. I want to can't wait to hear her story. But first, here's some of the news that's going around. We mentioned last week on the show, and the news continues to grow with current South Carolina House Democrat Crystal Matthews, who is also a U.S. Senate candidate running against Tim Scott. Good luck there, young lady. She has been the subject of Project Veritas investigations, not once, not twice, now three times, at least three times. Matthews has been poignantly vocal and rigorously exact on her wishes for, quote, in her words, dope money. Also, and that's for her campaign, and her wish is to have people destroy Republican signage. This is all verifiable. It's in audio and video. Destroy Republican signage. Um, quote unquote, where is her dope boy money? She's had efforts to find, quote unquote, as she calls them, thugs and boys from the hood. As she says, she wants them to put on a suit and infiltrate the Republican Party. Matthews has also never, ever mixed words about her obvious disdain and dislike for, and racist opinions, rather, of white people, saying that, quote, I have to keep them under my thumbs or they act like little children, end quote. Is that someone, I don't care what color you are, but is that someone you want representing you in, oh, I see we have some sound issues. Let me do a check. All right. I'm going to turn it off and come back. All right. We're going to turn it off and come back. Stay right there. All right. I'm back. Is it any better? Let's see if it's any better. The note out here. Any better? Any better? Anyone? Give me a thumbs up or let me know if it's still bad, better. Okay, so it's better. All right. So we're talking about Crystal Matthews. I don't want to get sidetracked. We're talking about Crystal Matthews here, the South Carolina House Democrat, running for reelection there and running for election against Tim Scott. Again, good luck, darling. Not going to happen. I don't care what you do. You could crap out a pot of gold. You're not going to beat Tim Scott. As much as the problems I have with Tim Scott, you're not going to beat Tim Scott. Anyway, what I was saying. Oh, she's not minced or mixed her words about her disdain and dislike and racist opinions of white people. Again, saying she has to keep them under her thumb, or they act like little children. So, anyway, Matthews has been hiding behind. And look, like I said before, I had to restart it. I don't care what color you are. I don't care if you're purple, you're black, white, green. You got purple polka dots. I don't care. This is not how you treat people, okay? And until crap like this, like Crystal Matthews, gets stopped, nothing's going to get better. So I don't want to hear this. Well, I'm this color and I can't be racist. That's bull crap. That's bull crap, and you got to stop it. We all have to stop it. Anyway, Matthews has been hiding behind security detail in the public setting, along with people like uber liberals, Representative Gilda Cobb Hunter, while in public and behind the keyboard, she's been coming out making videos actually claiming that her very own words, some of those words I just read to you, were taken out of context. How do you take your own words out of context, Crystal? How do you do that? How do you take your own words out of context? Explain that to me. Crystal, you said what you said. Matthews is also blaming Project Veritas and its founder, James O'Keefe, as unscrupulous in investigating. Now, what's interesting, Project Veritas uses hidden cameras on individuals, having one-on-one meetings and dinner, interviews, things like that. My question to Matthews, who obviously knows zero about journalism, is this: A, how else would someone get that kind of information that you are very forthwith in giving? How else would someone get that information? And B, is that not the same investigative journalism that even the progressive journalists, which most are, Veritas, Project Veritas, yes, is a conservative leaning group. But is that not the same method that the progressive journalists use? Of course it is. Obviously it is. Also in the news, town of Bluffton Council and a private developer have come together, and this was in the last couple of days. Newly created a developing firm called Workforce State of Mind LLC here in Bluffton. And they've partnered to develop and build at least 12 housing units on May River Road inside the town limits of Bluffton. The town of Bluffton bought the 1.75 acre site in 2018 for $263,000. That is roughly a density level of 7 units per acre, by the way, and over $150,000 per acre. Wow. 7 units per acre density. Holy cow. And $150,000 per acre. Another holy moly. So these homes are going to be available for purchase only, not for rent. Okay, not for rent. So this will not address any of the high rent problems, unaffordable housing for renters, only people wanting to buy a home. The neighborhood's going to be protected by a 30-year affordability covenant written into the CC&R covenants and restrictions, dictating that the purchasers will not be able to sell these same homes at going market rates, for lack of better words. Rather, they'll be reserved to be sold on an income qualifying basis. The town is donating the land and will reimburse the developer for permitting, design, planning, and infrastructure costs to make it affordable on the front half. This channel and this station would like to see the exact details of the impact fees, aside from the cost of the land, which is what it is, but you don't have to buy the most expensive piece of property. That's neither here nor there. Aside from the land, and it is what is a movable figure is the impact fees. Those impact fees cannot be waived. Now, I haven't heard anybody from the town of Bluffton or this workforce state of mind. Nobody said they're going to waive the fees for us, but keep that point right here. If you hear that, that is not true. It is against state law to waive an impact fee. It doesn't mean it has no regard to who can pay the impact fee, but they have to be paid. Impact fees must be paid. Anyway, enough of the news already. I did want to. I've had several people comment to me over the last several weeks. Hey, when are you going to do some other historical stuff? We really liked what you did, and so we didn't really like that. We like this, blah blah blah. Some historical tidbits about Beaufort County. What it is about this place besides the beautiful weather and the gorgeous skies, the wonderful water, the beautiful mosquitoes, and the lovely sand nets. What is it other than that attracts us here? So I wanted to. Uh, we're going to start going into some history. You know me; it's very, very brief, very light, very top of the level. It's not digging down deep. I thought I would start from about 4000 BC, and tonight work my way up to about the year 1715 in a very quick fashion. So, did you know that the native Indians were living here seasonally as early as 4000 BC? Evidence of early settlement remains today in the form of about 3,400-year-old Indian shell ring on Hilton Head Island's Sea Pine Forest Preserve. Interesting. Written history began about 500 years ago, they say, um, with the discovery of the area by Spanish Captain Diego de Salazar back in 1514. So that made Beaufort County the second, or the site of the second landing on the North American continent by Europeans in 1514. The first one, uh, in St. Augustine, Florida, was by Ponce de Leon, and that was in 1513. So in 1514, Beaufort County, this area was discovered. Diego de Salazar. When they discovered it, the seaport of Beaufort is located, or what they saw, obviously now known as Beaufort, the head of one of the largest natural harbors on the Atlantic coast. That would be Port Royal Sound. Didn't know that, did you? That would explain the early interest of the Spanish settlers and the French explorers that followed this enormous um, entry point, if you would, from the ocean. When they sailed up the Sound in the 1520s, they found land inhabited mainly by small tribes of Native Americans, the largest of which were the Cherokees and the Catawbas. Probably the most prevalent known is the Yamasee Indians, who were some of the fiercest Indians here. And of course, you had the Okatee and some others. But Catawbas and the Cherokees were the biggest numbers. Catawba's obviously well-known name throughout the Carolinas. French explorers visited this area long before the English ever arrived. In 1562, Captain Jean Ribault and his Frenchmen entered the Sound, which he named actually it was called Port Royal. We call it Port Royal. He called it Port Royal. They settled near the present town of Port Royal, and as they were Huguenots, this was the first Protestant settlement in the United States. There's another top 5. Port Royal, South Carolina, Beaufort County had the first Protestant settlement in the United States. When Jean Ribault returned to France for some reinforcements, the soldiers who were left behind revolted and built themselves a ship, so he was gone for quite a while, and they sailed for France the following year. Can you only imagine the French that were left here saw all these Indians and probably a few Spaniards, and they were like, yo, monsieur, we got to get the hell out of here. So they built a boat and they hauled ass. This was the first boat. It was built here, the first ship to cross the Atlantic Ocean, built here in America. What we now know as America was built here in Beaufort County. Another first. So after the French fled, Spaniards from Florida under Pedro Menendez built Fort San Felipe on Paris Island. In 1566, this fort, this settlement, was known as Santa Elena. Santa Elena, the capital of the La Florida province. I'm probably whacking this name up, but work with me. In 1576, under attack from the Native Americans, Santa Elena was abandoned, but the fort was rebuilt the next year. Archaeologists have positively determined the location rather, to be on the Paris Island golf course. If you go out there, you can see there's tours, there's landmarks, all kinds of stuff of the original Santa Elena. In 1587, England's Elizabeth I sent Sir Francis Drake to drive the Spanish from La Florida. The Spanish decided to concentrate their forces in St. Augustine and withdrew from Santa Elena. I would like to have been around to hear that. Hey, boys, we don't have enough, there's not enough drink here. Maybe let's go back to St. Augustine. Yeah, you know what? Let's let them have it. It's kind of hot. Maybe they had a better headwind off the ocean in St. Augustine. I don't know. But we're glad they did. Hilton Head Island, next up in line, was named for another Brit, a Captain William Hilton Jr. He was hired by a group of Barbadian planters from Barbados. They were Barbadian planters to find them places to plant their seeds, so to speak. So this captain finds Hilton Head Island because of the high bluffs. He sighted those high bluffs in August of 1663. while exploring the Port Royal Sound, and he named it for himself. Threw a flag down and said, "I call this Hilton Head Island." And he referred to the headlands being visible as they sailed the uncharted waters. Within a few years, the English had established the first permanent settlement of South Carolina at Albemarle Point near present day Charleston. That was on the Ashley River in the year 1670. The Lords Proprietors, first settlers, included many Barbadians, and South Carolina came to resemble more closely the plantation economy of Barbados in the West Indies than did other places. Interesting. The Beaufort district, as it would become to be known, was more like Barbados than anywhere else around it. Bringing this to an end, the Scots, not to be outdone and left out of this party, the Scots arrived in the area in 1684, and they created an area that's still, the area is still alive today. Obviously, it looks just a little different, but it's called Stewarttown over in the city of between Port Royal and Beaufort, on northern Beaufort County. The first trade was with the Indians for deer skins, which was a valuable commodity back in England. But they discovered indigo. That was the first cash crop. That's when Las Vegas was here, when they found indigo. And the Brits said, "Whoa, stop the presses. That stuff can be used as ink. That stuff can print money. That stuff can dye fabric to make, or dye cloth to make clothing." Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. The Sea Islands of South Carolina had a perfect climate and a perfect soil condition to grow this indigo. And England was the best market for it at that time. The town of Stewart's Town was burned by the Spanish in 1686, and then it was abandoned, obviously rebuilt years later. Indian attacks, also sponsored by the Spanish, continued to harass the settlers in the area. The Yamasee Indians, talked about them a minute ago, were particularly fierce. The settlement of Savannah and the colony of Georgia was encouraged so as to set up a buffer from the Indians in the particular area around Beaufort where indigo was thriving. Everything revolves around money. It always does. Anyway, we're going to end that. Settlers from the British Isles, France, other parts of Europe built plantations throughout coastal low country. And we started at what, 4,000 BC. We're now into the 1700s. Beaufort, the second oldest town in South Carolina, was founded in 1711. Mark that down. We'll have a test later. City of Beaufort, 1711. Beaufort County and its county seat of Beaufort were named for anyone? That's right. Henry Somerset, the second Duke of Beaufort, 1684 to 1714. One of the later Lords Proprietors of Carolina. We'll dig more into that later on other shows and so forth. So it is about 25 minutes past the hour. Real quick, one last note, and I see our guest has arrived in the green room. We will get to her shortly. I'm sure she's enjoying light refreshments there in the green room before you bring her on. Storyline for you last night. And this kind of leads into our guest for tonight. The Beaufort County GOP held its monthly meeting. During this meeting, there were several things occurring, if you will. One in particular that I found a little troubling. During the meeting, Chairman King Henley introduced others in attendance that were running for supposed nonpartisan offices in the county and the municipalities. There were at least two, arguably more, but two definite that are unbiased Democratic in their beliefs. Unbiasedly Democratic in their beliefs. Kevin Henley has been seen banging this is the part that bugs me. banging his fists on tables, demanding that no Republican be able to vote to write in anybody. I mean, and I'm not making that up. We've said it here before. Say it again. It's well documented. He's been banging his fists. He demands that no one be voting for a write in candidate, but he allows Democrats to speak at GOP meetings. Do you people hear what I'm saying? Someone said to me today, "Well, this man's a farce." And he's past that. That's that's a compliment to a farce. He's undermining the Republican Party and is allowing infiltration right before your eyes. Now, in full disclosure, I believe in full disclosure. That's called transparency, Kevin. I was not there. I had several videos made well, I didn't have them made. I have several videos given to me. I had several people there that have gotten back in touch with me. These stories have been corroborated. And we'll go more into that later in the show about Henley and something else that he did. The Friends of the Friends of Liberty, the husband, boyfriend, comrade, whatever he is, the founder, husband, Matt Sweeney. He allowed him to talk Friends of Liberty business, but yet he says they're not an affiliate of the Beaufort County GOP. You'll hear later that they are when it fits the narrative behind Chairman King Henley, but they're not when the feet is on the fire of Chairman King Henley. Does it make sense where I'm going with that? Anyway, be sure to chime in on our chat box. It's just coming up here after it's it's synced up, whatever that word, whatever you call that. Share us any questions you have. We'll be glad to get it up here on the screen as we can. Our good friend and candidate Tommy Reitz is watching tonight. Love the history. Thank you, sir. It's an honor to be able to do this. Absolutely, Jeff. I will share the link. We'll go into a little bit more later. And hold me to that. Hold me to that. We're getting there. Yes, Beaufort Chalkboard. I tell you, one of our biggest supporters is the Beaufort Chalkboard. If you never ever have seen the Beaufort Chalkboard, you need to take a ride. That's all I'm going to say. Just go check out the Beaufort Chalkboard. And yes, my good friend Helen, who you can contact about an event coming up next Monday. We'll go into that. As she says, rules for thee, but not for me. So a couple of weeks ago, we had Lori and Jeff Zapp here on the show, and they gave a firsthand storyline. And by the way, now is the time to make sure that popcorn is fresh. There's salt on it. You have a cold drink, and go ahead and text your neighbor and tell them you better turn this on. Now's the time. Anyway, we had the Zaps on here, and they gave a firsthand storyline of the events. We let them run with it. It was their show. The events that occurred between them and the chairman of the Beaufort County GOP, Kevin Henley, that led to the beginning of what I consider, and many consider, the beginning of the fall of the county party solely at the hands of the chairman. Now he's not alone. His henchmen they share some responsibility, but the buck stops at the top. So we'll just leave that at that for the moment. And we all heard directly from the Zaps how vile and mean Kevin Henley was in treating the Zaps from their own mouth. Arguably two of, and this is my opinion, but I know it's shared by, because I've heard from tons of people. These are two of the, arguably the nicest and sweetest people that ever walked the earth. Okay. I mean, if you listen to Jeff's show, I wish I could do a show as well as Jeff does. His podcast, the Jeff Zapp Show. I mean, the guy is very talented. He's very, very in tune with the spirit, and I appreciate that. I applaud that, and I believe just like he does. I'm just as jacked up as the next guy. I'm just trying to get to a better place. So anyway, there was a uh, that event was a true, and I'm gonna bring our guest on. That was a true whistleblower event that we had with them, if there ever was one. Well, we have another guest with us. I would like to bring in. There you see her. I hope she can hear me.
Yes, I
Maureen.
can.
Hey, Maureen Low. Am I saying it right? Low Mueller.
Yes.
She's coming to us from the Zapp's house tonight. Jeff has the professional setup going on there, and so she's over there. Greetings to you. May I call you Mo, or do you prefer Maureen?
Mo, please.
Okay. I know this is. I welcome you to the show. I
Thank
know
you.
this is probably not something that's easily talked about. I think in leading up to this, I understand that this took a while. I know it's difficult, so I want you to go at your speed. I'm going to turn this over to you and take your time and tell us your story.
Thank you for having me on the show, Mike. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be with your audience this evening. Um, I will expose the deceitful behavior I encountered with Kevin Henley, the chairman of Beaufort County. As you said, I'm at the Zapps home, and they are two of the nicest people you'll ever encounter, and that they were on your show 2 weeks ago, speaking about their repercussions from the slander they encountered with Kevin Henley. I experienced firsthand his vile smear campaign against the Zapps, and it's an honor to be on your Beaufort House of Cards show tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Um, I met with my then good friend Kevin Henley at the Republican headquarters after receiving a text request from him to meet with him to discuss the upcoming county convention. His text was a ruse. The only thing that he stated about the convention was I could no longer volunteer for him unless I relinquished my friendship with Lori Zapp from Engage the Right. Then I arrived at the office to hear them discussing the Zapps, both Sherry Zed and Kevin Henley. They were saying that under no circumstances did they want them to have access to enter the headquarters again on their own. Sherry said that would be a disaster. And in the likely event Jeff still had a key, they did not want them to be able to enter the office again. Kevin agreed with Sherry when she said that. I was in shock. I had no idea what was going on. I knew the Zapps, to be honest, thought they were all good friends, and Jeff had done an exemplary job as vice chair. Sherry sneered at me and walked away. Kevin ushered me into a room. He began by telling me angrily that Lori had brought these people from Greenville, Jeff Davis and Presley Stutz, to the office. However, Lori did not bring the people from Greenville because she had met them that day for the first time. Kevin asked if I knew Jeff Davis. I did not. He proceeded to bash him for belonging to this group, MySCGOP. Kevin stated that the group was very bad and against the GOP. Then basically he started talking about this plan that was hatched to garner delegates for Linwood to sabotage the GOP-backed candidate, Drew McKissick. Now, Lynn had every right to run against Drew. And these people that Kevin is so against, they were just MAGA Republicans. Then Kevin told me several times that he got effed. First, because a large number of delegates was brought in on a day the office was supposed to be closed. However, I learned that it was 7 people and the office was supposed to be open. According to Kevin, Lori called him to make a special trip to open the office on his day off. But really, what happened that day was it was just a few people. It was, Jeff Davis, Presley Stutz, Lynn Wood, Sharon Manzel, and Lynn's bodyguards, and Sharon's daughter, Maddie. And Lori didn't bring any of them. Kevin never apprised me that March 27th was a makeup day, that his name was on the schedule to open the doors, and that only a few delegates signed up that day. So I'd like to know, Kevin, why did you lie to me so many times? Then the prominent Lynn Wood emerges on the scene. Kevin is livid. He's furious that they bring Lynn in the rear door. He exclaimed that he may as well bend over because he just got effed again. Kevin makes a really big deal out of Lynn coming in the back entrance and them taking photos of Lynn. He didn't specify who took the photos. He just said photos were taken as Lynn entered. Then he repeated he got effed. Well, I learned that Lynn really came in the front door. He walked right in the front door with everyone else. So it makes me wonder why Kevin is so adamant that he got screwed twice. And I also question why Kevin is lying about Lynn coming in the rear door. Then Kevin stated that Lori invited Lynn Wood's people to come to Amy Schaefer's Hampton meeting to oppose her friend's chairmanship. He also asserted that Lynn Wood's chef would be the opponent. I find this absurd. We don't even know if Lynn Wood has a chef. Kevin snarled at me that if Amy lost her seat, it would be all Lori's fault. I responded, I don't see that happening since Amy has a lot of support, and Lori would not do that to a friend. All this opposition to Amy's chairmanship turned out to be more false allegations.
Hmm.
I reiterated that I needed to hear Lori's side of the story. Kevin rallied with, both Lori and Jeff knew exactly what they were doing, what they had done, because they ran out of the office before he could catch them to confront them. Kevin just lied again, folks. Unbelievable. I don't know why Kevin isn't telling any of us that the Zaps were brought in the back room. He brought the Zaps in the back room to show them a new printer. He misrepresented again because the Zaps never ran off. They never ran off. All his lying makes me think of the childhood rhyme, liar, liar, pants on fire.
Hmm.
I wonder how many firemen it would take to extinguish his pants. Before I left, I asked what time my volunteer shift starts for the convention on April 14th. I wanted to confirm he wasn't going to let me work that day, since I had refused to relinquish my friendship with Lori. He told me my shift hours. Then he said, no, I'm replacing you. He also said he may never allow me in the office again. Do you agree it's time to oust this chairman? I have some text messages I'd like to read to you. I sent them the day that I was leaving the office. After I had left the office, I texted Kevin to confirm he would not allow me at the headquarters. My text message: I don't know if I misread you today. Please clarify. If I work with Lori, will I still be able to volunteer at the office? Kevin responded the following day. I wish I had an answer. Right now, I do not. I am not avoiding the question. I want to say yes, but cannot predict how divided we end up. So I don't have his permission to volunteer. The dog wants me to play catch with him. I don't have his permission to volunteer. Um, the previous year, the man gave me Volunteer of the Year award, and now he's banishing me for working with a patriot, Lori Zapp. It took 7 months until November 1st to receive permission in an email saying we could discuss volunteer opportunities. By that time, I was well aware of the slander, and I was no longer interested in volunteering as long as Kevin Henley was chairman. After leaving the office, I received a phone call from Deborah Schutz, who ran South Carolina Women for Trump, telling me she thought I could no longer stay on her board of directors as long as if I continued working with Lori Zapp. Well, Deborah has spoken with Henley, so she now believed that Lori was working against Drew McKissick. Did you detect the slander, the shunning effect of Kevin's slander? Deborah was an influential local Republican, a friend of Lori's, and she wants her shunned. About 2 weeks later, Deborah called after receiving an email from Lori with her side of the story and told me I could remain on her board. Kevin received that same email with proof that Lori did nothing wrong that day, nothing wrong. Inexcusably, he made no attempt to rectify the consequences of his vicious attack. Ironically, even though Lori had every right to support any candidate without being slandered, she supported the very candidate Kevin thought she opposed. Are we mandated? Are Beaufort County Republican Party members mandated to support Henley's candidates? If they don't, will he also hold private one-on-one meetings at headquarters to spread lies and slander about them also? We are all Republican. However, if we support or talk to people who Kevin or others disagree with, we are shunned and shut down. We are supposed to believe in free speech. Yet if we have to talk to, hang out with, or vote for who they say to, there is no free speech. That was a quote from Lori. Linwood attended a Beaufort County meeting. Conway Ivy screamed at him. Henley treated him abominably. Kevin shut him down, wouldn't let him ask his question. The Beaufort County Party also shunned the Republican primary candidates. They didn't allow them, they prevented them from speaking at the local meetings. What happened to our free speech with our local GOP? Then Karen Wild was on her way in the office as I was leaving that day, and Kevin texted to let me know that she was upset, so he smeared the zaps with her as well. He also texted to let me know Amy Schaefer, the Hampton chair, was upset. Someone called Lori to let her know that Kevin had spoken about the zaps and engaged the right at a North of the Broad meeting. How many people did Henley reach with his smear campaign? To wrap things up, there was another volunteer, Debbie Barton, that was summoned to the office on April 2nd. Henley spent time at their meeting reiterating lies about the zaps. Our chairman horrified Debbie when he snarled, "If Jeff Sapp ever walked into this office, I would bash his face in."
Mm.
Thank you for letting me share my story, Mike.
Mo, I know that had to be hard to deliver that. It was hard to receive that. Um, I There's so many questions that I'm sure a lot of people have, and you're welcome to post them here on our chat area for those folks that are watching. I, you know, gosh, I don't know where to start other than I just don't understand how someone can be, I don't even know the adjective to use, to be so demeaning towards women. I mean, that's obviously, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. That's happened um, to Lori. That's happened to you. You had mentioned that he Debbie Barton was in his office and threatened to bash Jeff's face in and went off on her. I mean, there's obviously something wrong. There's obviously something wrong. Um, and as a Republican, I apologize that you have had to live through this. As a man, I apologize that someone spoke to you in such barbaric, um, uh, vile ways. That is uncalled for. It doesn't matter, if they did do all of these things. He alleges they did. You don't need to speak to people, i.e., like I'm talking about you, in this manner. It's uncalled for. How has this, and I'm sure it's affected you, but how has this affected you as far as, I mean, are you still active in other ways of the party? Are you still, voting, or has this changed things?
I was still active after this happened, but right now I'm not very active. But I was still very active, just not active at the Beaufort County headquarters. But right now I'm not very active,
Um,
but that's because something else had happened.
and I am sure. Okay. All right. Um, wow. I'm just shocked. There's been some folks put some of their messages up to you in across the screen, who have thanked you for being on here, and are apologizing for this. Is there anything, I know, Kevin watches this. I know he does.
Oh, I hope he heard
Is there
every word
anything
of
that
it.
you is there anything you would like to say to him, keeping it professional, that, do you want an apology, or do you wish he would fall off, the zip code?
Huh.
And I think that you deserve to be able to share what you feel, because you certainly got a rash of what he feels.
I would like to see him apologize to the Zapps. I don't think that's enough, though.
And that's understood, and I agree with that. So I'm gonna, again, Mo, I greatly appreciate you coming on here, um, telling your story. It means so much when someone can tell their story from their point of view, and we just sit back and listen. You have painted, and Lori and Jeff did as well. You all painted a very clear picture. I don't know anyone who has listened to this, that doesn't walk away from this with a clear picture of what's going on. I I am every day I learn something more, and I get more and more shocked. I get a little more pissed off. Excuse my French. I don't like the way Napoleon type males think they can talk to females. You know, if somebody wants to tell me to my face, and probably Jeff feels the same way. If you want to tell me you want to bash my face in, I can handle it. But don't tell my wife that. Don't tell
Mhm.
my secretary that. Don't tell a supporter down the street that female. That's not necessary, and that's Napoleon. That is, that says a lot right there, but I wanna concentrate on you, and we need to protect and preserve, as a good friend of mine says, the republic. We need to get this county party fixed. That begins with Kevin either resigning, and I've given him plenty of opportunities to resign, and if he didn't, I've told him I'm gonna be letting this come out, and folks like you have taken that and said, "Hey, I want to give you my story." Well, that's what we're doing. So it starts right there. Kevin needs to resign or be removed come next. I guess it's March or April when the reorg happens. And yes, Beaufort Chalkboard just said that's what a narcissist does. That's exactly it. Mo, I
Mhm.
greatly appreciate it. I hope you continue to watch the show. Anytime you want to come back,
Yes.
you've got carte blanche. You just say the
Thank
word.
you. I would love to see Kevin resign. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, Mo Lohmueller, thanks for coming on with us.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, we are back. Wow, that's just amazing. I got to kind of gather my thoughts with that. Um, you know, from time to time over the last, I don't know, we've been doing this for 3 months or something like that, 2 or 3 months. Every once in a while, someone will say something like, "Ah, you got a hard on for Kevin Henley. You're after him." You've seen 3 people, 2 of them having to be married, but you've seen 3 people come out with their stories. This wasn't, Mike behind the scenes giving them questions, prompting them with a teleprompter and all. No, they came forth as a whistleblower, if you will, to tell a story of what happened to them. We let them we let them we let them tell their story on their terms, their speed, nobody interference. And so, how much more transparent can we be? That's what I've always said: open, honest, transparent, accountable programming, politicking, insert word here. That's what we've done. There's been no threats. There's been a lot of promises, but no threats. Kevin Henley needs to resign. Resigning right now, though, that's not even enough. That's the little part. We need to fix this county GOP because right now, Beaufort County GOP is nothing more than a uniparty. That's right. The overwhelming part of the GOP in this county is nothing more than a uniparty full of establishment elitists. That's who runs it. And if you think people are getting elected properly in Beaufort County, I've got another thing coming for you. They're being selected, not elected. Now, does that happen to all? No. Tommy Reach, for example, on Hilton Head. I firmly believe Tom Reach was elected in the primary because people have had enough of the shenanigans, whatever you want to call it, of Stu Rodman. They've had enough. That I believe is true, a true win. Anyway, we'll get back on that in a minute. I'm gonna kind of gather my thoughts inside, the one of the drawers back here. I did want to tell everyone, and let me it is about 5 minutes before the top of the hour. Big Patriot Radio is on the way. We are launching this station. I've told you about it several weeks now. In the end of September, beginning of October, a lot of it depends on logistics and things coming forward. And if you think we're done talking about corruption inside the county GOP, don't turn the channel. We're not done. The station Big Patriot Radio is blues, news, country, pop, and classic rock. The format is not only music, it's also real news, as there will be sponsored shows by the USA Radio Network. We have a show called Real Law Talk that we're looking for a lawyer or legal firm that would like to sponsor that. Podcasts like this one. I hope to have others here in this area on, possibly even the Jeff Zapp show, possibly my good friend at Talk One Radio. Want to have, possibly can get them on in a time slot, 24 hours a day, worldwide coverage. We're also hoping to be broadcasting high school and small college USCB sporting events, much as I did when I was in business and we sponsored the Covert Air High School Football Game of the Week, which was television, and then we did basketball. This is obviously going to be radio, football, basketball, baseball, softball, college softball, baseball. Really, whatever the viewers want to hear, want to have a report on, have a game, we want to do that. We are accepting inaugural advertisers. These advertisers will be exclusive and have the lowest radio rates you've ever seen in the last 20 or 30 years. The lowest ever. Per spot, we're talking like $2.08 per spot. That's ridiculously low. We have a couple of sponsors on board already. We're searching for others. If you want to advertise your business and carve out a niche market and an exclusive market, send me an email. Write this down real quick. It's cedarlake23@outlook.com. That's cedarlake23@outlook.com. Feel free to call me, 843-305-0600. That's 843-305-0600. And if you want to talk about the sports side of it, also get in touch with me. Make it ASAP. The football season is running down, but we will work something out for you. The radio to listen to all these shows is free, absolutely free. Putting it on is a different story. Anyway, it is about 8 o'clock. So this week, Beaufort County Council held their regular meeting and advertised at the meeting previously that the reading of the Public Facilities Committee resolution that would have put 6-lane superstructure from Hilton Head to Bluffton and back and forth was going to be on the agenda and move it forward. And there we see Lori coming on. Thank you, Lori, for those comments. Absolutely. When the county GOP, and I put this out on Facebook the other day, when the county GOP is asking for volunteers for the November election, remember all this. Again, just remember all that. However, we conservative, Christian, constitutional, forward thinking, common sense, America first Republicans to continue to stay involved. Actually, we need you more involved now than we did, because if you don't get involved, they win. A lot of people have said, we need to stop the infighting. Yes, absolutely we do. But be damned, I will stop just so people like Kevin Henley or Sweeney or his Chinese American, whatever she is, wife, Friends of Liberty, or any of these other elitist hacks, so they can continue because they're the good old boys. I'm not going to stop. Why would you stop? That makes no sense. Because we don't want, of course, we don't want the infighting. You think the Democrats are upset about this? No, they're sitting back, kicking, watching this, laughing. Watching this, laughing. Mainly because they've got a uniparty, and some Republicans are joined together at the hip with them. We saw that the other night, as a matter of fact. Anyway, lest I digress, So this show happened to publicize it heavy, heavy, heavy that this resolution of Beaufort County Council and the Public Facilities Committee was a hijack of democracy by the committee, Chairman Stu Rodman and Council Chair Joe Passament. Come Monday, the agenda item had been fully removed. People knew about it Friday. There was reports of it's here, it's not here. The weekend social media, the weekend media, everything flushed itself through. All the electrons and the neutrons got moved, and it was off the agenda. Folks, let me give you this is politispeak 101. Here's how this works. That is a flank move, pulling items off of agenda. The chairman of county council and any council has supreme power to remove items at his leisure. You can't add items at his leisure, but they can remove them. And there's probably loopholes that he could add it, but he can remove them. This is a political flank move. Why is that a political flank move? Because they know that the general public will soon forget about it. We have life. Life goes on. We have homes, we have children, we have spouses, we have jobs, we have bills, and a very small little morsel of it is consumed by Beaufort County Council or Town Council or whatever. They know that. They know you'll forget about it. They know if they let it go a little bit, you won't be so upset about it. Everybody cools off after a certain amount of time, and then they can pass it with much less heated effort. Yes, this is common sense, and you are exactly right, Mr. Auditor in waiting there to be. Many of these calling for the infighting to stop are the ones causing it. I couldn't have said that better myself. You were exactly right. Exactly. So anyway, that was a political flank move because the outcry was incredible. Incredible. I hope we were banging that drum, and I know others were, and but the outcry was incredible. So the public still came out, probably not as in force as they would have, because it was, they did figure it out that it wasn't going to happen, but they still came out. Many many got upset that they wouldn't be able to speak to the item, because here's what Chairman Passament did. Not only did he flank move him, he had prepared a speech. He had prepared a speech, a copy of which we have. This speech was rhetorical at best, but sure enough, by the end of it all, he was castigating the citizens as not being smart enough to figure this out, and that the county was moving ahead with it anyway. And they must have known, because he said we cannot wait any longer. Let me say that again. He was castigating the citizens of Beaufort County as not being smart enough to figure this out, and that the county was moving ahead with it anyway, as we cannot wait any longer. We know that is a false statement. When they say we can't wait any longer because the money's going to run out, that is false. Out of the mouth of Senator Tom Davis, that is false. Well, they can't move ahead with it anyway. They must have public hearings. And they must have public comment. I urge each and every one of you to be, whether you live in Bluffton, Hilton Head, Okatee, Kalawasi, Burton, Fripp Island, St. Helena, Dale, Port Royal, wherever you live, I urge you to be at the very next meeting and not allow the circumvention of democracy to take place. I know, not only from being educated in this, but also down in my core, this type of superstructure, this 6-lane, single span superstructure from Bluffton onto Hilton Head. One 6-lane massive bridge. That's wider than the Talmadge Bridge going into Savannah. Are you with me? Think about that. That is one lane on each side wider than the Talmadge Bridge that would go from Bluffton onto Hilton Head in one huge span, just like the Talmadge Bridge. That superstructure will destroy the Stony community. It will destroy the Stony community. What other damage is it going to enable once this 6-lane? Oh, don't forget, you've got to have turning lanes. Is there going to be some sort of median? I would assume a concrete median to avert a traffic disaster. So you've got to widen a little bit more for that. What other damage this would enable? Once these 6 lanes and turning lanes are set, let's just imagine the Talmadge Bridge from Bluffton into Hilton Head. Add 2 more lanes while you're at it. That's 6 lanes. Once that's there, what's next? What's next is Pandora's box has been opened for 6-laning William Hilton Parkway all the way around that island. Oh, Mike, you're full of crap. You know what you're talking. That's crazy talk. No, it's not. It's not crazy talk. All of a sudden, you've got 6 lanes of brand new concrete spilling onto the island down to, what is it, 4 at most? Do you not think that enables a 6-lane, a 2-lane expansion all the way around that island? You want Myrtle Beach? Do that 6-lane superstructure, and you'll have Myrtle Beach. People say, we don't want a Myrtle Beach Hilton Head. Then stop this 6-lane bridge. Stop this superstructure approach. Because if you do that, this will become Myrtle Beach. Let's take a look at a rebuttal of Chairman Passament's speech put together by gentleman Steve Baer of Hilton Head, who honestly and actually I believe is one of the most educated people on this entire subject and has, excuse me, some of the most, if not the most level-headed solutions out there. I'll show you a map here in a minute. Sorry about that. Mr. Baer put together this rebuttal saying at the core of the problem is that county council leadership refuses to do its homework and has worked hard over the years to avoid doing the due diligence taxpayers require and expect. They place our future and funds under the control of member Stu Rodman, who they let act as a corridor czar to lead this project. County council themselves demoted, if you would, Mr. Rodman for numerous unethical actions, including using secret meetings, 5 prior council per intimidation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Nowhere in Chairman Passament's message is this at all mentioned. Nor does Chairman Passament mention that council's attempt to retroactively reduce the scope of the corridor promises made in previous tax referendum is probably illegal. It would delay the project, and it would destroy public trust for upcoming tax referendums. We used to talk about that a lot on county council. That, well, we just had a referendum question. We need to give them a break. We need to pull the brains back and let them have a break and then ask next year. Not this crowd. Under Passament and Rodman, it's keep going, keep going, keep going until that well is finally. I got to echo until that well is dry. No matter what carnage we put in place. Sounds like Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, there'll be carnage, but that's just, collateral damage. Anyway, again, Steve Baer and his group put this together. The entrance to Hilton Head has well-known traffic congestion at peak times. One of its 4 bridge spans is nearing the end of its useful life. To address these problems, the roughly 4-mile corridor project was proposed, and that is correct. However, citizens have reported for years the project ends at Spanish Wells Road and misses several congestion sources by about 2,000 feet. This is what I refer to, and I think Mr. Bear does as well, as end to end traffic patterns, end to end corridor study, not this haphazard approach that Stu Rodman has taken under as a ballywick and proposes. That will cause problems when whence you get to what would have been the end to end. In 2022, with an aid of a over 9,000 person petition and help from Senator Davis, the IR, which is an independent review, was revived. Now there's a they go on to say there's likely a larger protest group than any county project has ever seen, and I have to agree with that. Even the flyover is larger than the vote count for any one county council, and it many times larger than the protest county council even does listen to. We'll show you a picture of what is going on. The crux of it is the county's resolution, and pay attention to this. The county's resolution that the PFC committee has passed, the resolution is a push to increase capacity, but sub-optimize everything else without an overall plan. That's the end-to-end part. It shoves known problems under the rug, the proverbial rug. It subverts due diligence before construction challenges based on many flaws, and it's going to delay the project rather than speeding it up. No expediting. It's going to cause a delay. And the worst of it is the Stony community will be destroyed. The current county council, the arrogance by the council leadership, specifically Chairman Passament, Stu Rodman, and I'm going to throw in there Eric Greenway, and maybe he's being forced to, I don't know. The arrogance shown by them, including a previous ultimatum to the town of Hilton Head Island, is a blatant example, a flat out blatant example of an administration ignoring its fundamental responsibility, and that is due diligence. Mr. Bear puts it perfectly, succinctly. It is a flaw. It's an arrogant, blatant example of wrongdoing and corruptive behaviors by local government. Why, Mr. Passament, are you so afraid of an independent review? Why are you so afraid of listening and actually putting into play what Senator Davis has spent countless hours working on at the behest of town and county council people as well as appointed? If you put a dollar figure to Senator Davis's time and effort, what do you think that cost? What do you think you have cost the citizens by not only telling false stories of what Senator Davis does or does not approve of? Everything that's happened up until this point, you've pretty much said, we don't care. We're moving ahead anyway. Oh, wait a minute. You did say that. You did say that. We don't care. We're moving ahead anyway. So let's bring on, let's see, how do I do this? I'm going to share the screen. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. This is really cool when it works. And I hope everybody sees this. If you don't, somebody send me a text or something. So what you see in front of you right now is what's known as Figure 2, the Rodman or Public Facilities Committee plan. Cost of 250 to 300 million, probably more because of inflation. 3 lanes each way to Windmill Harbor, 3 traffic lights, partial planning, and congestion at peak times. All right. There you see in yellow is the one bridge, 3 lanes each way. They're going to remove the old bridge, one big superstructure. All right. The plan initially, only to the left of this line, other impacts, interactions, and funding left to happenstance later. In the middle of the screen, you see the known congestion area not included in the corridor project scope. It's got a red dash line around it. And I'm not getting any text, so I guess you all are seeing this. Gotta love technology. You see the orange starbursts. Those are probable, known, and probable congestion spots. Let's move down. Let me A over here in the left upper corner. That's like Moss Creek. Moving left to right, there you see Stony, the road going right through Stony, and eventually inside that dashed red circle, that's the Cross Island split. Now the peak time, you see 60% of peak traffic at this particular juncture is workers leaving. That is the new Rodman plan of a disastrous scope. What's present, there's 2 lanes each way, 2 traffic lights, congestion at peaks. There's 4 bridges and spans, 2 lanes each, one span near the end of its useful life, the other not. The known congestion area there in the right middle part of it, in a dash circle, is the same. The known or probable traffic congestion spots in the orange starbursts, they're the same, but actually there's one less now than there would be if Stu Rodman gets his way, because that is the 6 to 4 juncture. Peak traffic 60% of the time. The peak time is workers leaving. This doesn't change. This doesn't change at all. So there we go. Brought it back. I don't know. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. And again, more over. And I really, now that I think about it, I want to have someone on here from the Stony community. I'd like to have even possible Hilton Head Town Councilman Alex Brown. I mean, he's from here. He's from here. He's Gullah native. And we'll do that, David. We will do that. I'd like to hear from him. He's been obviously a big advocate for his community. You know, here I am. I've only been here, I don't know, 25, 28. Yeah, just shy of 30 years. Um, Obviously different culture. I see it being a decimation to the Gullah community of Stony. I want to hear from somebody from Stony. Do you feel the same way? I want to hear that. Anyway, that is enough on that. Told you we're coming towards the bottom of the hour. I told you at the top of the show about the county GOP meeting last night and how County Chair Henley allowed non-Republicans to give their campaign speech. He also allowed Matt Sweeney. Matt Sweeney, also listening to this. I understand he's a big fan. He is husband of the Friends of Liberty founder, I believe you pronounce this, Joe Dan Lee, to speak. He spoke for 1 minute and 25 seconds about how his wife and he have, but specifically his wife, has been attacked on social media and how wrong it is because she's done so much for the party, even helped introduce legislation making voting safer. So here's the real deal. Since you brought it up, Matt, here's the real deal. You won't hear from people like him because he only recollects what his wife tells him, apparently. So let's look into that. First one, his wife, Zhao Dan Li, and her group, Friends of Liberty. And Sweeney had been telling people how and who to vote for since before the primary of 2022. Be careful of the stones you cast, my friend, because your house may be built of glass. He and his wife and this group have been telling people how to vote since before the primary of 2022. He's come out previously and said, no, we didn't. Well, we don't. We have not. We won't. That's a lie. You have. We have it in writing. You did. Own it. Number two, Friends of Liberty did not allow their members the ability to hear from all candidates, only those they choose. That's right. You see, so many, and I was guilty of this at one time. Beating my fist. I wasn't allowed to get into so and so community to tell them all about me. That's not right. That's not fair. It wasn't me they were keeping out. It was their members or their residents or their club members that they feel aren't smart enough to make up their own mind, so they control it like communism. Friends of Liberty, 3 days a week, is an affiliate of the county GOP, and the other 4 days, it isn't. It really depends on the issue. Last night, apparently, they're an affiliate of the GOP. Kevin let them talk. When you press him on other issues over the last several months, they're not an affiliate of the GOP of this county, says Chairman King Henley. Doesn't matter what day it is, they all end in Y. That's the question. Number 4. Sweeney's wife, Zhao Dan Li, and I hope I'm saying that right. I don't want to mispronounce somebody's name, has publicly stated that the electronic voting machines are safe. Hello? We know that's false. We know that's false. Hello? Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Oh, there you go. It's false. They're not safe. Yet people believe this dribble that they spew. Number 5, the legislation she helped draft does nothing, zero, to help protect election integrity in this state. It's an absolute joke. I had the bill reviewed because that's what you do. I had the bill reviewed by a political scientist, a scientifico, as I call him, in Wisconsin. Responded to me with, and I quote, "This piece of legislation is akin to lipstick on a pig. It may make your elections look better, but in the end, it is still a pig," end quote. I can't make it any clearer. My little brain can understand that. This piece of legislation that so many people were all praising her is a pig. It's got a really fat red lipstick job on it, but when you wipe it off, it's still a pig. It doesn't do anything for election integrity because we still have machines that are broken. We still have machines that are not maintained properly. We still have machines that are accessible by outside sources. We've proven this and we will continue to prove it. Number 6, listening to Sweeney's blabbering gives me this one final thought. Matt, and again, I know you're watching, and I appreciate that. It was you who came out last week or so, I guess it was last week, begging people to stop blogging. And this wasn't directed solely towards me. Matter of fact, I think it was probably 98% aimed for another individual who really went hammer home, and he's got a reason to. It was you that came out and were begging people to stop blogging about your wife. And I quote, you said this could cause irreparable harm to her family in China. You said that. I didn't say that. You said that. They didn't say it. You said that. They didn't say it. You said that. Number 7, feel free, sir, to continue to call this show juvenile, uneducated, uninformed, but it is you that brought up the face of or the faith of her family in communist China. And if anybody has a problem with me calling it communist China, wake up. They're Chinese, they're communist. The government of China is communist. Hence the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. Anyway, I digress again. You brought it up that her family in communist China could be harmed. Many have asked me, well, why is that? Is she a member of the CCP? Are her family members of the CCP? Why would they want to hurt them? Please explain. You know what? I get it. That I understand. I get that. Why do you say that? Why would anybody say that? I mean, if I said, "Hey, I need, you Joe Blow to quit busting my chops because, my family over in over in Cuba could come down a little hard from the Fidel Castro," I would expect somebody to say, well, you must be somebody over there, or they must be somebody. Why is that? What are they? You brought it up. Now man up and own it and tell us why. What is it? Obviously, nobody on this show wants any harm to anyone. Obviously, no one that I know wishes harm to her family anywhere on the green earth. Chinese communists or communist China or, Louisville, Kentucky. I don't care. I don't want anybody to get hurt. So tell us why. If you make that statement, you better back it up. So the ball is in your court. Mi amigo, if you choose to swing, it's your serve. You brought it up. You finished the story. Don't blame anyone else. That just bugs me no end. Don't blame anyone else but yourself. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So next week, we are going to be discussing, obviously, breaking news. Anything that breaks here in the Low Country, Beaufort County, and Low Country, or South Carolina, or something around the world. We'll break that news here, but we're also going to dive into chambers of commerce around the country, and how they're funded. How are they supposed to be funded? How are they funded? Which ones have been the subject of, or the topic of, what let's call it, misuse of appropriated funds? And we'll talk about why your tax dollars and how your tax dollars are apparently giving them the ability to create lavish lifestyles, much akin to the rich and famous. We hear about places like Fort Lauderdale, Hilton Head Island, the beach, Charleston, Harper, Mount Pleasant area. All of these things have one thing in common, and that's lifestyles of the rich and famous. Why did the Chamber of Commerce have a tie to that? We're also going to be talking about the recent court decision in the South Carolina for state elections case that you definitely don't want to miss out. Along with that, hopefully we'll have Lauren Martell going to send out a viewer tomorrow. See if she has time to come on the show. Tell us what happened as that was read and the defendants were awarded a reversal. You don't want to miss that. We'll talk about the voting machines in this state and why they are broken. All that more in faith. I was never huge on the broken machines until it happened to me. When it happened to me, I had called to say, wait a minute. walls and look at the pictures. And what I have found, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Folks, be sure to get ready for big Patriot Radio. We're hitting the World Wide Web of blues, blues, country pop, and classic rock. That's coming up soon. We're going to see you back here next Thursday, 7 o'clock Eastern.